And welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the premier podcast for the website cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back in, everybody. There's something, I think I'm missing something. I think I'm missing something on this intro, and I truly don't know what it is because I don't recall what I'm doing wrong. And I am obviously doing something wrong when I introduce this show. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm missing like 3 words because by the time I get to this is the premier podcast for the website C Plus Comedy, I feel like there's something in between that and when I say whatever the hell it is I say when I start the show. It's a personal thing I've been dealing with. Welcome back. I don't know what episode number this is. I do apologize. I am recording this well in advance for a lot of reasons. It is one, the topmost reason is easier that way. I sit down, I do the interview, and then as soon as the interview ends, I open up Adobe Audition. I grab the iPad with the sound voices on it, the sound notes on it, the theme songs, and then I plug everything in. And I just do it immediately. Why? Because it's easier that way. Because if I did this in a couple of weeks, I would not remember anything we had a conversation about. This helps me. You're welcome. And it makes me a better host. Welcome back. I do know when this posts. This is after the birthday for C Plus Comedy. So happy birthday, C Plus Comedy. I just had a conversation with the wonderful, enjoyable, and very funny Derek Sheen. We spoke about his new record, Unrelatable. However, a lot of our conversation was just talking about the things that are happening in our world currently. It's horrible, guys. We live in a hellscape. But we do what we have to do. And that is make fun of the people in charge. We have a very candid conversation about comedy. And the people who are succeeding in comedy right now, who probably should not be succeeding, but hopefully in a couple of years they don't and they stop succeeding. And then we have wonderful comedians that I speak to, wonderful people like Derek Sheen, he and his friends, people like Brian Posehn and Patton Oswalt and Janine Garofalo, people like that who should be at the top of the mind when you say comedy and stand-up instead of other people. Derek is a lovely man. You know what? As soon as if you watch the video, you will see that he has an office with a bunch of guitars and I wanted to talk about some music stuff too, but I don't have, I'm not paying for Zoom. Zoom costs so much money. But he has some music posters like Nirvana in the back. I was like, whoa, this guy's cool. I showed him, he has guitars at his office, and I showed him one of the guitars that I have. And yeah, there are guitars to if you're watching I guess if you see the video, there are guitars to my left, camera right, I guess. Are they do work and they are strung. Well, except for one's a ukulele. That my grandmother gave me when I was, I think, 6 years old and she went on a cruise. Have I ever played the ukulele? No. But I think she went to Hawaii. She and my grandpa went to Hawaii. I still have it. And there's a piano. So yeah, I have 2 guitars, a ukulele and a piano. And a harmonica. The cat has been rubbing herself on that. Anyway, back to Derek. Unrelatable is his latest record. It's gonna be an album, and it is also a special. The special comes out first. You can watch it on YouTube on August 21st on Blonde Medicine's YouTube channel, and then you can get the studio album. You can get the album version on September 11th. Celebrate this great nation. Get the album, listen to it. I presume wherever you listen to comedy records. Be that buying it physically, buy it from Blonde Medicine or whomever. Yeah, you can buy it from Blonde Medicine, and you can stream it probably. Derek in the album talks about things like this is the very first not very first album. It's the very first joke, but sitting on the toilet and forgetting to he's a sit down peer. Don't say he's a sit down peer. Sitting on the toilet and just forgetting why he's there, and then also buying things you probably shouldn't buy when you're an adult. He bought a bong. I thought it was funny. What else is on the album? I'm not going to ruin everything. I listened to half, and I will get to the rest. He tours. He tours with, as I mentioned, Brian Posehn and some other people. And he's a great storyteller. He just paints a vivid picture. And I think that's a lost art in comedy for a lot of people. And it works for him. So, check out Unrelatable, coming to Blonde Medicine's YouTube channel on August 21st, and buy the album version on September 11th. He's also friends with Lindy West, the author of Shrill, if you remember that book, and then that turned into a TV show with A.D. Bryant on Hulu. I have the book in my Amazon wish list. I'll get to it. And then you can also follow Derek Sheen on Instagram at Derek Sheen 666. The mark of the beast. I couldn't get that high if I wanted to. And then if you and then follow him on TikTok at The Real Derek Sheen. If you want to see a video version of this interview, go to youtube.com/C+Comedy to see a video version of this interview, as well as a lot of other interviews I've ever done, and a video version of this podcast, The Constitutionals, the LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs and Business News Podcast, and Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show. There's a monologue now. Follow us on social media at C+Comedy on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Now, here is Derek Sheen.
Super Noob. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. I have to say, look fantastic. This entire scene behind you is amazing. Holy shit! There's 3 or 4 guitars over there.
There's quite a few back there.
Wow. I actually have a couple right here with me. They don't work at all, but yeah, I got some.
I love them. It's my it's the musician to comedy pipeline.
Yeah,
what that is.
Yeah,
sometimes it's backwards. The comedian to musician pipeline.
Who do you think wants it more? Do you think I think it's the musicians that want to be funny, whereas I think it's like every single musician thinks they're hilarious because they get up on stage in front of hundreds of people and they say one thing and then everybody laughs, but then a comedian plays a guitar and everybody's like, please stop.
There is something to this because I think that musicians, every musician I know, is actually way funnier than any comic I know.
Really?
It's a thing. I mean, it's going to sound stupid, but it is an innate sense of timing that, and these are people who've trained themselves to, be on the beat. And so they just know when to drop a punchline. Every drummer I know is the funniest person I've ever met, just the driest sense of humor ever. And they just have impeccable timing, but you get them on stage and then that falls apart immediately. So but I think the best pipeline is the musician to comedian works better than the comedian going into music because it's also harder to be taken seriously if you've already been a comedian, and then you're like, here's my serious work. Nobody's gonna care about that, or they're gonna be disappointed because they're like, well, this isn't funny at all.
That's a very adept argument, and you may have swayed me, but if I ever meet, let's see, Mick Jagger, they just put out that new Flaming Tongues album or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So if I ever meet Mick Jagger and he doesn't make me laugh, I'm gonna go, you know what? You're not a comedian, buddy.
That's it. I always say meet your heroes. They always say don't meet your heroes, and I'm like, nah, meet them. You want to vet them out a little bit.
Yeah.
See if they're fun hang.
Well, I do. I want to say congratulations on what is it? Unbreakable? Is that what it's called? Or Unbeatable?
Unrelatable.
Unrelatable. I was very close. I
That's very
listened to
close.
a lot of it. I'm almost done with it, and I listened to it. I didn't watch it. I got the screener to watch, and I was like, let me check it out in the record version because I want to get lost in this in
Oh,
comedy records. And also, you just I think it's a lost art. Everything is now coming out in video, and I feel like people like you, these comedians who aren't these gigantic big stadium touring ones, they
yeah.
still put them out on physical CDs or streaming or whatever, and it works. And I think that's the superior format than watching it.
I've always been, I mean, I grew up on comedy records. And so there's something I feel really close to that type of media for stand up. In fact, I don't even think I saw a live comedy show, outside of me doing stand up as a kid and stuff. I really didn't go to a live comedy show until I was in my late teens or 20s. And,
Mhm.
but I was so well versed in stand up because that's all I listened to.
Yeah,
Every album, even as a kid, we didn't have music around the house. My mom listened to stand up albums.
really.
She just played everything from, God, we had Bob Newhart, we had Carlin, we had, God, Red Fox,
Yeah.
and Dick Gregory and Nichols and May. And so I
Oh
kind of grew
wow.
up on that stuff and Lenny Bruce,
Mhm.
which she let me listen to. But we didn't have music. She liked laughing, and I think uh, that was her child abuse for me. That was like, just get me into comedy. That's what she wanted to live vicariously through me because she was also had stage fright. So
Oh really?
yeah,
Has she ever seen you do comedy?
she did. She got to see me right before a couple years before she died.
Mhm.
I brought her and my grandfather out to the Paramount here in town when I opened for Patton Oswalt.
Oh wow.
And she got to sit up front and watch me, in front of like 1,700 people. And then I
Yeah.
made her, she got to come backstage and gave Patton a really uncomfortable hug. Uh,
How
so
how
she
was it
get,
uncomfortable? Is it because she's taller than him or what?
it was totally unexpected.
Okay,
An
fair enough.
unexpected hug is kind of like assault.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So,
That's so
but
funny. When she played people like Red Fox, I didn't know that Pat Morita was a comedian too,
yes,
and he was like almost as dirty as Red Fox. That was so great. Like watching, I've only seen one clip of him. I think like at a Red Fox, showcase or performance or whatever. I don't know if he was opening for him, but it's a very specific video, and I'm sure anyone can find it. But it was just so jarring to see him do comedy, and then also to watch Red Fox, who I'd been watching. I grew up on Sanford and I grew up on classic sitcoms,
yeah.
Sanford and Son, All in the Family, all that stuff. I didn't watch like contemporary stuff until I was like in middle school.
I mean, that was my diet. Sitcoms were my television diet, and then I think twice a year you got a peanut special.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
and then and the haunting Raskin or not Rankin Bass, but the haunting CBS music afterwards was always the thing that I was like, oh man, now the fun's over. Those are the memories I have. But I mean, it was Barney Miller, Taxi, uh, the Jeffersons, All in the Family. I mean, everything just every weeknight it was 2 hours where we just sat in the living room as a family and either watched, a sitcom or watched a television drama. You know, we had Hill Street Blues, non-serialized television dramas.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember the old days when you could just start in the middle of a series? Whoa,
And
I don't know what's happening here.
and be completely caught up and like almost know like Dallas, like you would know what's happening in Dallas.
Right. It's,
I was just watching before this clips of the TV show Hong Kong Phooey. I love Hong Kong Phooey.
with Scatman Crothers
Yeah.
as the voice of Hong Kong. Oh man, that was so great. That then we had great cartoons. And can you imagine, like the voice actors that we had for stuff back then? I mean, these were like A-list celebrities
Yeah.
that were dropping in. We had great entertainment as kids.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
I
weird, but it was, I mean, the fucking talking Jeep and shit, but still, we
the
loved it.
Jeep with the speech impediment. He also had a speech impediment, and
Oh,
he
that's right.
never got a sentence out straight.
We just accepted it.
Oh my gosh. Did that it has thinking back to everything you've ever watched. I was watching Cheers last night, oddly enough. I said this is very sad. I bought the Cheers like all of it on Vudu digitally. And
Oh,
so I can
wow.
watch it whenever I want. But I was watching it last night and I was thinking like how much of that show had impacted my comedy, like me writing anything because you see Sam and Diane and they're so real and the way that yeah people just interact on that show, it's very funny. And then you're friends with Brian Posehn. I would say even I did not watch a lot of Big Bang Theory, but I do think that that show because it was so successful, you see enough
Right.
of it and people like it obviously for a reason. And I think that show, when we see Friends and other sitcoms that lasted a long time, they tried to emulate that, and I think to a T, to a point, it did work. But then the other sitcoms that didn't make it past one or two seasons that failed, what were they doing wrong? And then you see that, I don't want to name any shows, but you see
Right.
that like Papa's House, like the Wayans brothers
Yeah.
Papa's House on CBS, it failed because it just wasn't funny. It was trying to copy way too much, or the stuff that it did copy, just emulate, just didn't like work. It wasn't really built out.
Well, and I'm going to say the thing I think that separates a lot of those is like James L. Brooks and a lot of those guys,
Yeah.
they knew how to write characters. You tuned into the show because after two episodes, you loved those characters. There was some emotional arc or something in each one of them in every episode that tied you a little bit to them,
Mhm.
or you related to them because they were written so well that they weren't archetypes. They weren't, they weren't written to be overly funny. They were people.
Mhm.
And so I think that's the key to good comedy is relatability. No pun intended. But that was the thing that a good sitcom, you really related to the people in some way, and you wanted to see them. You wanted to see them something good happen to them, and the comedy was in that not happening.
Yeah. I think that's very poignant and very fitting, especially for, a stand-up comedian who has to sometimes you get up on stage and people don't know who you are. Like people, if your name is not on the marquee, then people aren't necessarily coming to see you, but you're able to win them over. And this also goes back to musicians. You're able to win them over almost instantly because you either make them laugh or you play a song that they enjoy and want to hear.
I agree. The best advice I ever got in stand up. As a new baby comic, I wanted to be the dark guy who came out and said the horrific shit. That was the landing test.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I listened to too much Bill Hicks at a certain point, and I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be the guy that just makes everybody angry. And I
Yeah.
didn't understand. That's just that, that's where my brain was at. And it never worked. And I always ate shit. And every set was a disaster. And I'd sit in my car and I'm like, I can't even afford a gun to eat. How am I going to ever make this work for me? And a guy that I really admired who'd been doing it for a long time and ran a bunch of shows and was sort of like the comedy mentor to everybody, even though he would give unsolicited advice a lot of time too,
Mhm.
but it was valuable. He just one night, I think I was in like a competition and I just couldn't get laughs. I couldn't make it work. And I was like, I think it's the audience, or the judges, they're all screwed up. And he was like, nobody knows who you are. I was like, wait, what do you mean? He said, nobody knows who you are. You're a character up there, whether you want to admit it or not. You're a character. And if you don't give anybody anything that lets them know you or feel empathy for you, then all you're doing is just going up there and taking a shit.
Wow.
And you have to give them a part of yourself. You have to let them in so they can trust you. And if they trust you, they'll let you do anything you want. And that changed my stand up immediately. I mean, I just immediately overnight I was like, I need to start writing about myself. And it was a real awakening for me to start thinking about being real. And all that, I think that also informed for me the concept of like, what are you doing stand up for?
Mm,
In my head, I saw a picture of the reaction that I thought I was supposed to get
right.
instead of the reaction that I wanted, the genuine reaction. And so, even doing like dark stuff or, challenging material, um, I had to repivot my thinking and be like, what is it that makes me laugh?
Hmm.
Because I think I'm trying to write things for what I think people want to hear, and that's always going to be a disaster
Yeah.
because I'm not putting myself in their seat. I'm not letting them see me for who I am, and so I had to start writing for what made me laugh. If it makes me laugh, that's kind of the barometer. If it's
Hmm.
funny to me, then it means it's gonna be funny when I share it. Part of that is, I'm in the joke. And so that changed everything, overnight. It was the best advice I ever got. Just be yourself and let people get to know you a little bit before you take your pants off, you
Yeah.
know? Before you take a giant shit in front of everybody. If they know you, they'll be like, I know what he's doing. He's gonna take a shit. That's okay. We're with him. We trust him. It's gonna be cute. And you get more. I think you get more forgiveness. But also it just means you have to be a little bit more authentic or genuine in your approach.
Yeah.
And the few times I taught comedy, I hate saying that I did that. Uh,
It's okay. I don't look down on you in any way after
I hate
that.
saying it, but the few times I taught comedy, that was the big lesson for me. Is like I would, you get to see everybody in their carapace, like their
Mhm.
their their form before they change, and telling them like, okay, that joke that you wrote, why do you think that's funny? And well, because I think that people would think it's funny. Okay, but why? Well, I don't know. All right, we'll talk about yourself. And the minute that they started to talk about themselves, all of a sudden this light went on and they would go, oh, well, this is funny to me. So they would share. And when you
Yeah.
start to share, all of a sudden the floodgates open. And, it was successful to a certain degree that everybody would get on stage and at least be genuinely funny. And I think that's the thing with like, all the shitty like Murder Tony and, all the which I hope that the series ends the way that it starts.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but what we're seeing in comedy right now, which is a bummer, right?
Hmm.
It's the rancid cream rising to the top and not the good stuff, and everybody's frustrated and we're heartbroken because we're like, we know all these amazing comedians. I know why isn't Amy Miller on every television show? Why isn't Jackie Cation a household name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why aren't these people that I love not getting their, Joe Dombrowski, people that I love that I want them to be famous,
Yeah.
but instead I think it's also, it's probably a bigger, the bigger picture is it's just the malaise that we're in because of the leadership and everything in our country that just sort of informs, where we're at. The mentality is just bottom of the barrel, celebrating dog shit because we're like, that's me. I can relate to that. And
Yeah.
so I think it's really, it's hard to try and be genuine and step outside of what you think people want to hear and just be yourself.
Hmm.
And I think that in the long run, you know, we'll still be here after the pendulum swings the other way. All those guys, the Hans Kims of the world and everything, they'll be living in a trailer and smoking out of a light bulb and trying to figure out where things went wrong, and we'll still be doing comedy,
Hmm.
because it's what we love to do, and we just have to remember. I think that like, just be genuine. Was
Yeah.
that was a speech? Why did I give a speech? What am I, an Independence Day?
No, hey, look, that's you made a lot of salient points. And there's a few I want to touch on. You're right, Jackie Cation and Amy Miller and just like there's a slew of great comedians who sometimes come across in my algorithm. I'm not somebody who's always on social media, but sometimes they do pop up on my Instagram or the TikTok or the YouTube. And then, there's people you already know, there's people that you don't know, and it sucks. It stinks because those aren't the people that are getting noticed or are getting noticed as much as they need to be. Like when you see Maria Bamford has a show on Netflix for 2 seasons, you would think, I want that show to last for 5 seasons. I
Yeah.
don't want a show called Tires getting picked up again just because Shane Gillis is a famous who was almost
Right.
on SNL, but then he gets a chance to host it twice, which is just ridiculous. It's so frustrating. And then what's worse is, I talk to great, funny people like you all the time. And
Thank
when
you.
and when I and then when I everybody knows I've been doing this for a very long time, for over a decade. I've been doing this for a very long time. And when I suggest comedians to people, they go, "No, I like this person. I like this person," and it's always like a racist, a sexist, someone who is like just a horrible, horrible human being. And then they try to like defend it before I even say anything. But I think, if you have to defend it ahead of time, then why are you even saying anything about it? Like it's just so
Exactly.
it's a bad situation all around. And I hope that and you would hope that tying yourself to the president, a man who protects a pedophile, a man who says that you can touch anybody because you're famous, you would think that tying yourself to that person and saying that you're a fan of that person would ruin your career. But no, people still go and celebrate these comedians and watch
Yeah.
them and
Well,
enjoy them. And it is so maddening. And I hope that your prediction of the future of them, of their careers, is true because I am so fucking tired
I am
of seeing these
absolutely
people win.
tired of seeing people like this succeed. And it is, I think, like sociologically, I think that we're seeing a frontline assault on decency
Hmm.
and morality and empathy because and it's mounted by people who were ashamed or embarrassed by their own behavior. When you ask people like what's your favorite Shane Gillis joke, they don't know.
Nothing.
They got nothing. When you go, hey, what's your favorite Hans Kim joke? They got nothing. They only like what they represent, and that is that they are upending the status quo of empathy and kindness and generosity because they themselves probably at one point got embarrassed in public for saying, a T slur or the N word
Mhm.
or the F slur. And they tried to defend it and they got absolutely railed or lost their job or lost friends. And I think this is their revenge is to hold people like that up and support them because they're like, that guy's saying what I tried to say and I got in trouble and they're my favorite.
Yes. Yeah.
They're just living in vengeance and resentment and bitterness. And it can only go so far.
Yeah.
There's only the shelf life on this shit is like it's pretty short lived. It's heavy,
Yes.
it comes on very strong, but all these guys are going to be forgotten like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
All of them. It'll be a blip in the radar and they'll be like, where are they now? 10 or 15 years from now, like People Magazine used to do that shit where
I
they'd be
remember
like, where are
those.
they now? And they're like, the guy who, had a pet ferret that he wrote a book about. And then it turned out he was a pedophile. And you're like, whoa, what? I forgot he was famous. Where is he at?
Forgot he was
He's got
famous.
dementia and he's living in a van. And you're like, oh, thank God, justice is served, and that's where I hope I'm right that
Mhm.
it's a fever. And I think that I have some friends, we've talked about this quite often, but I feel like we are in the middle of an infection
Mhm.
and this is the fever break. And it is the last desperate act of like, it's the death throes of misogyny, institutionalized racism. When you have a disease and you're almost, or if we have a sickness and you're almost through it,
Yeah.
it fights the hardest that it's ever fought before it loses. Your fever gets the highest it's ever got before it breaks. And that's where we're at right now. We're seeing the last gasp of this shit. And that's why it seems so heavy and interminable and hard to fathom or fight because it is fighting harder than it's ever fought before because it's almost extinct. And if we play our cards right, humanity, I think that hopefully we get to live to see, it sounds so stupid, but a shining new age of like, love and empathy and hope and generosity that this is the last gasp. People that want to see that buried, that's
Yeah.
what they want to do. And they're fighting. You can see it. They're terrified. They're
I
terrified they're going to lose.
I hope so. It's I think about comedy and I think about the things that I like and currently like and still watch over and over again. We talk about Cheers and All in the Family. That stuff is still prescient today. It still works today because it's real and it's funny and it's good jokes. And then even when you go back to old comedy records, I can still even laugh at a lot of parts of Eddie Murphy Raw. I can still watch, Ellen DeGeneres's first the special. I can,
So good.
there's so many great things from 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you're right, in 10 years, are people going to be watching who's that? Who's the handsome guy who people think is funny? Uh
Oh, the guy with the chin who's had all the
yeah.
plastic surgery.
Yeah, chin
Uh,
chin guy. Like
let's
if
call
like
him, yeah, Chin McChin Flap.
I literally I don't know his name, but I can see his face. Are people going to be going to Netflix or whatever singular streaming
We've
platform they have?
already forgotten him.
I don't know his name. I can
We've
see his
already
face. Yeah,
we've
but
already
like
forgotten him.
yeah,
He's
see that
left the zeitgeist,
exactly.
and so that hopefully that's if we're forgetting him, and we're people who are in it, we're
Yeah.
in comedy, like that's good.
That,
That's good. That's hope. The vaccines are working, everybody.
well, not according to the great RFK. They confirmed the new CDC head, I believe, or who's the health head or whatever. Yeah, they just confirmed that woman
Yeah.
this morning. Oh
Oh
my
God.
gosh. What
A
a what
guy
a
who
time.
sounds like like wet paper on fire,
Yeah,
who is filled with diseases and worms, and just sounds like he's being controlled
yeah.
by a virus. And oh,
He's getting ratatouilleed by a virus right now. There's a virus in his brain just ratatouilleing him.
somebody called him Batatouille, actually, which just
Ratatouille.
made me very happy. I mean, yeah, we're seeing, we're watching from the bleachers right now. We're just watching the least talented, lower third of, developmentally, stable people who are running their own race
Hmm.
for themselves, and they're cheering each other on, because they have gotten a short shrift socially by being shitty people.
Yeah.
And this is their revenge. This is their revenge tour, and they're going to make us miserable and sick, but they're ultimately going to lose. I mean, we've watched so many authoritarian regimes and dictatorships rise and fall, and they've always been, and I say this with some trepidation, but those people were actually intelligent, which
Mm,
was what made them dangerous
yeah.
because
Yeah.
they were smart and charming. These
Yeah.
people have zero fucking charm. They have zero riz at all.
Right.
And they're also dumb as hell. Like
So
everybody was like,
stupid.
Trump's the Antichrist. And I'm like, well, we got lucky then because the Antichrist shits his pants in public and he can't
Falls
remember
asleep at
words.
funerals.
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, great. Then if that's the Antichrist, then we're doing okay. We're going to be okay, everybody. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be uncomfortable, but the devil's shitting his pants in front of us, so I think we'll be okay.
That's ridiculous. Like that is so insane. Like how, Obama gets in trouble because he wore a tan suit, or Biden likes ice cream, and this guy is literally yesterday at a funeral, just shitting on a friend, falling asleep.
Yeah.
People are like he stinks. All he does is eat, fast food or whatever.
Yeah.
It's maddening.
And
It's
then he
maddening.
taps the coffin because he doesn't know how to be a human. So or be like a gentle. He just taps the guy. All right, there you go. There, you're dead. Like
Oh,
he has zero humanity, and it's just fun to watch him losing his mind in front of us, and that's hopeful for me. Like
yeah.
I often, I mean, I have not on the special because I didn't want to get shot in the face, but I definitely talk an awful lot out loud about, I make loud jokes about the different ways I want to see him pass away.
Good. Yeah.
Colorful, loud ways I want to see him expire in front of everybody. Because it brings me joy.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're at that place, and we're in 1939 Berlin, but this in this timeline, Berlin is mostly illiterate and scared and dumb. So they'll just shoot the comedians, from their cars, but they're not going to do anything about it legally. And I feel like I'm one of those cabaret performers. It's, in another timeline, I might be dragged off to a gulag, but right now I'm going to
Yeah.
scream about how I hope he shits himself to death on national television. And that makes me so happy that it's a possibility. Like we may see it, and that's going to go right in my spank bank
There,
forever.
there was a time, what do you remember? Like, it was like what, 20, late 2020. It was during the pandemic or maybe early 2021. But he had gotten, like, he was always on Twitter, always talking shit. And then he went silent for like a week. And everybody was like, he's dead. He's dead. Like, I remember that very specifically. And, as time has marched on in these last 6 years, I, you're right. Like when he dies, it's going to be a celebration. It's going to be fantastic. And because I remember when Biden was elected, I'm in Atlanta and I went to Midtown. It was during the pandemic, obviously. I went to Midtown and everybody left their homes. Nobody's wearing a mask. We're all drinking champagne in the park.
Yeah.
And there was traffic all around, Piedmont Park in Atlanta. And like just Midtown was just packed with people for us for like 8 hours that day. No, it was a Saturday. No one gave a shit about the pandemic. No one gave a shit about getting sick. We were all excited and happy, and that is the same thing that's going to
Yes.
happen the day Trump just rolls over and dies.
It's going to be the end of Independence Day when they blow up the mothership,
Yes.
And it's just going to be people peeing on alien bodies
Yeah,
and
yes, yes.
champagne as far as the eye can see. I mean, yeah, you remember like, the night that Obama won the election against McCain.
Hmm.
I mean, it was like Super Bowl in the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, I was up on Capitol Hill, which is a pretty diverse part of our city, with very gay centric neighborhoods, right?
Okay.
And it was wall to wall people as far as the eye could see. Just DJs on the street and people dancing. And I want to see that every day.
Yes.
I want to live in that world every day. And I feel like once the fever breaks, and we get these Morlocks back underground, then that's what we get to live in. We get to live in a city where we get to listen to music all the time, and people are
Mhm.
going to be happy and drinking again and going out. Remember when people used to go out?
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh.
it's just part of this fever. People stay in. We're a little more hesitant to leave,
Mhm.
We don't buy things ahead of time. We don't pre-buy tickets
No.
unless it's something huge. We're like, all right, well, I know this is going to sell out 6 months down the road, but nobody's pre-buying anything because we're like, what's
Yeah.
going to happen Thursday?
Yeah.
Are we going to be here? Or are we going to, is there going to be oil? So
That's why I drive a hybrid. If I can just fill it up enough to get me around for the next month, then I'm set.
right. And I think like also the other part of like the last gasp thing is we 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 were doing great. We had electric vehicles, we had wind energy, solar
Oh.
power, and they all were like, we got it, we're going back to fossil fuels because that's their last gasp of everything is they got to fight. And it's the last gasp of the fossil fuel companies and
Mhm.
the natural gas companies are like, this is it. Like they're putting all of their chips on the table and they're going to lose. And then once we have electric everything, we don't have to worry about the Gulf. We don't have to fight anymore.
Yeah.
You know, once we get rid of this shit, it's the last gasp of all this garbage. It's everybody fighting because they know they're going to go extinct. And we need that extinction burst. We
Exactly.
change the behavior overnight and then we all drive electric cars and they charge and we use solar power and it's going to be great. And
Hmm.
we're going to have like, a whole Supreme Court of just women
Just
and
women. Just women, all diverse women, and they
Yeah,
and they're all younger.
they're
They're
all
all
younger.
young. Oh my gosh. And they have discuss they're and they no longer talk behind closed doors. They have the open discussions, and people can chime in and stuff. But they still
Yeah.
make the decisions, but it's
And our president's a former drag queen. And
still does drag on occasion
yeah,
just for
still,
fun.
at the Easter on the White House lawn.
Yeah, oh my God. Dressed as a bunny.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my, that's so funny. As Lola Bunny. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Well, Derek, this has been fantastic. Again, I enjoyed the record. I got all the way up to the bong joke,
Good.
where you bought the bong on your 50th, and I'm gonna listen to the rest. But I hope this does well for you, and keep fighting the good
Thank you.
fight
Thank you.
because
And you're enjoying it. You're enjoying it so far. It's funny. I'm
obviously,
I'm so happy. I'm so excited
yeah.
because it's my favorite thing I've ever done. So I'm like, oh man, I hope people like it.
I also did. I do want to say. I know I said I didn't watch it, but I did check out a little bit of the actual video, and it looks fantastic. It looks so good, and I like.
Man.
There's a point to where some of these can be overproduced sometimes. This just looks like something that I would turn on HBO, like 5 years ago, and before like HBO Max like was a streaming thing. Like you would see this on a Saturday night on HBO, and be like, oh, okay, let me check out Derek's thing.
I gotta give it. It turned out beautiful, and I gotta shout out to Brent James Driscoll as the director and the lighting coordinator. Like, basically came up with the whole color palette. Beautiful, like nothing I would have imagined, and it made me look way better than I have any right being. So he's so good. He's doing a lot. He's doing a bunch of stuff for Netflix, but
That's great.
I got lucky. He did an amazing job. So
Well,
yay,
it's
I'm glad.
nothing without your jokes too. So keep that in mind. That's you also did a great job talking about sitting on the toilet and forgetting why you were there.
Don't get old. It's really, it's not good. We just keep going, and we just keep going. We just keep going, and it doesn't stop.
Yeah,
So I'm so glad you like it. Thank you, and thanks. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on the show. What a fun talk.
yeah.
Holy cow.
I do what I can. I let people have whatever conversation they want to have. So it always works out like that.
Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, you did a great job just
Thank you.
leading me, and so fun to talk to.
Of course.
It made me feel very comfortable.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
you're welcome. All right. Hey, I'm gonna have this out. This is let's see, the record comes out on the 11th of September, but I'm gonna put this out on the 19th of August
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
For the video to match the video. I try to make things work like that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome.
What a pleasure today.
All right,
What a
Derek.
treat.
Yeah, of
Talk to you
course.
soon.
Have a
I
good
hope.
one.
Thank
Bye.
you, you too.